Jesus and the hidden teachings of forgiveness. In the quiet hills of Galilee, a crowd gathered around Jesus, their eyes filled with hope, curiosity, and desperation. Many sought healing for their bodies, others for their hearts, and some simply wanted to hear him speak. Among them was Reuben, a fisherman from Capernaum, known for his short temper and long-standing grudges. Reuben had come reluctantly at the insistence of his wife, who hoped Jesus' teachings might soften her husband's heart. She had watched him grow bitter over the years, consumed by anger toward his younger brother Elias, who had betrayed him over a business deal. The pain of that betrayal had festered in Reuben, creating a chasm between him and his family. As Jesus stood under the shade of a fig tree, he began to speak of love and kindness, his voice carrying a wisdom that seemed to pierce through the crowd. Reuben listened with folded arms, skeptical but unable to look away. Then Jesus said something that made Reuben's heart tighten. "Forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7. The words lingered in the air, puzzling some and angering others. Reuben's fists clenched involuntarily. He leaned toward a fellow listener and muttered, "Easy for him to say? Has he ever been betrayed by his own blood?" Jesus, sensing the turmoil in the crowd, paused and looked directly at Reuben. As if he had heard the unspoken question, he gestured for him to step forward. Reuben hesitated but found himself compelled to move closer. "Tell me," Jesus said gently, "what burdens your heart?" Reuben's voice trembled as he spoke, his anger breaking through the surface. "My brother stole from me. He lied, he cheated, and he left me with nothing. How can I forgive someone who destroyed my life?" The crowd murmured, their attention now fixed on the exchange. Jesus' eyes softened with compassion. "Reuben, forgiveness is not for the one who wronged you, it is for you." Reuben frowned. "For me? What good is it to let someone like him off the hook?" Jesus knelt and drew a line in the dirt, then another, creating a small cross. "Imagine your heart as a vessel," he said. "When you hold on to anger, it fills with bitterness, leaving no room for peace or love. Forgiveness is not letting the other person go unpunished. It is freeing yourself from the chains of hatred." "But he doesn't deserve forgiveness," Reuben replied. "Perhaps not," Jesus said, "but do you deserve to carry this weight forever?" Forgiveness is not about the worthiness of the other person. It is about setting your spirit free. Reuben's gaze dropped to the ground. The weight of Jesus' words began to settle in his heart, but his pride kept him from fully understanding. "What if he hurts me again?" he asked. Jesus smiled. "Forgiveness does not mean allowing harm to continue. It means releasing the pain of the past so that it no longer controls your future. Protect yourself, but let go of the anger that binds you." The crowd remained silent, their collective breath held as they pondered the lesson. Then Jesus turned to the crowd and told a parable. There was a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. One man owed him a great debt, more than he could ever repay. The king ordered the man and his family to be sold to cover the debt, but the servant begged for mercy, promising to repay everything. The king, moved with compassion, forgave the entire debt. Yet, when that servant left, he found a fellow servant who owed him a small amount. He seized him by the throat and demanded payment. When the second servant begged for mercy, the first refused and threw him into prison. When the king heard of this, he was angered. He summoned the first servant and said, "I forgave you a great debt because you asked for mercy. Should you not have shown the same mercy to your fellow servant?" Then the king handed him over to the jailers until he could repay everything. Jesus paused, his voice steady. "So it is with the heart. If you cannot forgive others, how can you truly receive forgiveness yourself?" Reuben felt tears welling up in his eyes. For the first time, he saw his anger for what it was. A chain that had bound him for years, keeping him from the joy and peace he so desperately sought. When the gathering dispersed, Reuben returned home. That evening, he wrote a letter to Elias. He wasn't sure if his brother would respond, but for the first time, it didn't matter. Reuben realized the act of forgiving had already lightened his heart, setting him free from the prison of his own anger. The lesson Jesus taught that day became a cornerstone of Reuben's life, and a reminder to all who heard it that forgiveness is not weakness, but the hidden strength of the soul.